Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirviseshasha Shunyavade Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we are continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita. We are on chapter 2, text 23. So Krishna is, this text, chapter 2 is actually contents of the Bhagavad Gita summarized, where Krishna is giving the full Bhagavad Gita. He's explaining to Arjuna in this chapter. Like he's speaking about so much knowledge about the soul. Then he touches a little bit about bhakti. So we are still reading about the soul. So we'll read on text 23. Sheetal, would you like to recite the verse?
Yes. Nainam chindayam nainam dahati pavakah uchainam kledayantyapo na shushayati marutah.
Actually, your voice is not very clear, but anyway, I did hear a slight way. I'll just repeat. Huh?
I repeat?
Yes, please.
It was the fan, that's why.
Okay.
Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakah na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati marutah.
Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that okay, the body can be burnt by fire. The body can become wet. We bathe every day with water. And then we also get dried by the wind. And we can be cut into pieces. But that's all to the body. The soul can't be. The soul cannot be touched. It can't be cut. It can't be burned by fire. It can't be touched with anything material. So all kinds of weapons, swords, flame weapons, rain weapons, tornado weapons, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Fire weapons were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. So before also, we know that there were many weapons. Right now, we just know fire weapons. The scientists know mostly is fire weapons. But if we see the Vedic times, we see how Mahabharata war, they had water weapons, they had air weapons, you know. So there are many different types of weapons, but no weapon can harm the soul. The Mayavadi cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and consequently become covered by the illusory energy. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original Supreme Soul. Rather, the individual souls are eternally separated parts of the Supreme Soul. So we are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna, fragmental parts. But it does not mean that Krishna is like a big piece of paper, and then you cut him and tear him to pieces, and we are those tiny, tiny pieces, and that Krishna is no more. No, no, Krishna is supremely conscious. He's not paper. Paper is dead matter. Krishna is a supreme conscious being. And so he can never be cut. And neither can we ever be cut. We exist eternally as his parts and parcels, simultaneously. He is unlimitedly great, unlimited in size. We are very tiny, very insignificant. So even after we give up this body, it does not mean that we are going to become nothing or zero. No, we will continue to exist. There is some people who believe that they will cease to exist, that after they give the body up, there is nothing, there's zero, the soul doesn't exist anymore. But that is just their belief. It's not the fact. The fact is the soul always continues to exist. So we, even after we give up this body, we will continue to exist. So because they are atomic individual souls, eternally sanatana, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as sparks of a fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. So we have seen, if we light a big fire, then there are tiny, tiny sparks which come out of the fire. Now, if that spark gets separated from the fire and comes and falls down on the ground, then, it's separated. It's no more together with the fire, and then it loses the quality of its being fiery. So same way, because we are so tiny, we have this tendency to become covered by Maya, to become covered and start thinking that, oh, I'm separate from Krishna, to forget Krishna. And then we take up this body and we think we are the body. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So, even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So we can see that here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that even after we get liberated, after we give up this body, and we have realized who we are, that we are truly spirit souls, that we don't belong here, we belong to the spiritual world. Then when we go to the spiritual world, we will continue to remain individual souls in our spiritual body. There we don't need like this kind of body. Then the spiritual body, we don't have to keep on taking different bodies. No, that is our eternal body, our Swarup. That's our real identity. That's who we actually are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then reading on, text 24. Would anybody like to read the verse?
I can read.
Yes, please.
Achedyoyamadayoyam akledyo shosya evachah nitya sarvagata sthanur achaluyam sanatanah.
This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So we, the soul, nobody can break us. Not like, just break. Somebody can break our body, our hands, our legs, but not the soul. Like, nobody can touch us, who we truly are. And then burnt, we can never be burnt. So when the body is burnt, when we leave the body, it's because the soul has already left the body, and then we burn the body. But the soul in itself can never be burned, can never be dried. We always exist everywhere. and we are unchangeable. The soul never changes. Here in the material world, we have experienced everything changes. Every moment changes. Every circumstance changes. Some changes we welcome. We want the times to change. We are waiting for a change. Sometimes when we are very happy, we don't want things to change. But change is inevitable, but that is in the material nature. The soul never changes, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So the time factor, time works only on the body. Time does not act on the soul. Because with the body, with the time, the body changes. The body is a small baby body. And then we can see by our own experience and realization how we say, oh, I used to look like this. Oh, I had this. My hair used to be like that. My skin used to be like that. We remember, even though that body is no more. But we, the soul, are the same. That's the reason we can remember how our body used to be. All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. So it's not that after we give up this body, all the souls are going to combine and become one big blob of a big soul. No, it never happens. We continue to exist as separate individuals. Each of us, it's not that I'm going to become you and you're going to become me and all of us are going to become one. No, I have my own individuality, my own likes, my own dislikes, my own personality, and so do you. And we continue to exist eternally. When we give up this body and we go back to the spiritual world, then in our spiritual body, we have an eternal relationship with Krishna, which never changes. That nobody can take away that relationship from us. In the material world, we are always very fearful because everything is so changing. We are all competing with each other, trying to maintain the status quo. Oh, if I don't do this, somebody will take my position. But in the spiritual world, there is no such fear because nobody can take away our personal relationship with Krishna. It's eternal. And each of us has an eternal relationship with Krishna. So after liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. So then there is a class of transcendentalists who, because of maybe being so frustrated, the Vedas say that when one becomes so frustrated of their life, oh, there's so much suffering, oh, I don't want to cease to exist. Why do I exist? I don't want to exist anymore. So after I give up this body, I want to just become nothing. And so they go and sit in the light, the Brahma Jyoti. But that position is not permanent. Even after we reach the Brahma Jyoti, which is actually very difficult to reach. It's not easy. It takes millions and millions of lifetimes of cultivating knowledge of mind and sense control. And even if we reach there, that position is temporary because we, the spiritual souls, we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. And so our home is in the spiritual planets. There are many unlimited spiritual planets, the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the highest planet is Goloka Vrindavan. The word Sarvagata, all-pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burnt by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that they are living entities also in the sun planet, with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. So Krishna says that the soul lives everywhere and it cannot be burnt by fire. So they are living entities even on the sun planet. Although if we were to go to the sun planet, even before we reach the sun planet, we would get burned because we do not have a suitable body to live on the sun planet. But there are living entities who have bodies which are suitable that they can live there on the sun planet. Is that okay? So then we can read the next verse, 25. Would anybody like to read?
Read.
Yes, please.
Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmat evam viditvainam nainam shuchitum arhasi.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So Krishna is so clearly describing the soul, what is actually the soul, who we are actually. As described previously, the magnitude of the soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invisible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shruti or Vedic wisdom. So the size of the soul has been explained as 1/10,000, the tip of a hair. How small is the tip of a hair? And that tip, we have to cut it in 10,000 parts. And that is actually our size. That's the size of the soul. And then and so there is no microscope to see the soul. Why? Because the microscope is made of a material element. We, the soul, are spiritual. How can we see something spiritual with our material eyes? It does not have that software. It's not compatible, right? So the soul, the existence of the soul is established in the Vedic literature by hearing. When we hear from authorities, when we go, for example, if we go to the doctor, if we are diseased, we go to the doctor and we follow what the doctor says. He will say, take these pills and you have this disease and you should take this much rest or whatever. And we follow what the doctor is saying. So same way, to understand about the soul, we have to go to the authority. We have to go to the spiritual teachers. We have to go to the pure devotees of Krishna. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is a fact by perception. So we can see also that when there is a living body, we call it this person is living. Now, if the same person, the soul leaves the body and the body is lying over there, and then they will say, oh, my beloved went away. But the body is still lying. So why do you say your beloved passed away? What is it in the body that passed? That beloved is the soul. So we are always having a relationship is actually with the soul because the body is dead. The body has no consciousness. Once the soul leaves, there is no value for the body. So there are many things we have to accept solely on grounds of superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of the mother. So if we want to know who's our father, we just ask our mom. And we just ask our mother, who's the father, and she'll tell us. It's as simple as that. We do not have to go to each man in this earth and ask him, are you my father? And even after we do that, we might not have the correct answer. So it's just going to waste so much time and energy and without even knowing the truth then. The simplest thing is ask the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. You see, because we human beings, we have 4 defects. We make mistakes, we have imperfect senses, then we are always cheating. We cheat our own self. We think we are the body, we say we are the body, we pretend we are the body. And then we are always in illusion. You know, well, that is the illusion actually, that we think we are the body, not the soul. And cheating, we are always cheating. We are thinking we are the best. We are trying to cheat others also and ourselves also. So because we are not perfect, the way we perceive knowledge is not perfect. The only way that we can receive perfect knowledge is when we hear it from the authorities, from the people who have this perfect knowledge. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness and conscious. That also is the statement of the Vedas. And we have to accept that. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. So we just accept the Vedic knowledge. As when we were children, we went to school and the teacher told us 1 + 1 = 2. And the teacher taught us how to write A, B, C, D. Although we never understood what we are doing and why the teacher is telling these things, in good faith, we followed what the teacher is saying. And then as we grew up, we understood, oh, by learning 1 + 1 = 2, we can count things. And then by understanding, by learning the alphabet, we are able to read and write and communicate. So in the same way, as we have faith in our teacher for our material education, same way, we should accept the knowledge of the soul, the spiritual knowledge, from the true, pure devotee who is explaining to us this knowledge from the Vedas. So, as eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite supreme soul. So we are tiny, we are very tiny, but we are unchangeable. We can never be changed. Time cannot make us old. That's the reason we can see, even though the body is becoming old, we still feel we are very young, you know, but time has no effect on the soul. The supreme soul is infinite and the atomic soul is infinitesimal. Therefore, the infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. This concept is repeated in the Vedas in different ways, just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. So the reason it's always repeated in the Vedas is just so we can understand it properly. Because right now we don't understand that we are the soul. We are thinking we are the body. Then the more we hear, the more we will realize it. Oh yes, it's true. I'm not the body. I'm something separate from the body. Whatever is happening is actually happening to the body, not to me. These changes are happening to the body, not to me. So that's the reason Krishna is also repeating about the soul in this Bhagavad Gita. And then we can read the text 26. Would somebody like to read the verse, the Sanskrit?
I can. Okay.
Yes, please.
Who is reading?
There's an echo.
Oh, okay. Because I have started my mobile and laptop is here, that's why.
Okay, so I think there's an echo. Would you like to close one of them? Yeah, and then you can read then.
You better do it because
Okay.
I don't know how to operate.
Okay, I'll read. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam vam manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitam arhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. There is always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhists, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the Lokayatikas and Vaibhasikas. Such philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and materialistic philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo-religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are also adhering to this philosophy, as are the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, okay, if you believe that there is no soul, that once that this body came into being just by being combination of certain chemicals under certain circumstances, and this is how this human body was made, and then after death, you're not going to exist. It's just everything is zero. There's nothing there. Still, then you don't need to lament about it. Krishna is telling this like this to Arjuna. Krishna is trying to remove all the doubts from Arjuna's mind. And Arjuna is taking our position. So because we have so many doubts in our mind. So even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Vaibhasika philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stops discharging his prescribed duty. So if we think we are just like a bunch of chemicals come together, then we don't cry if there is some chemicals lying in a bucket and if that bucket trips over, we don't keep on lamenting for years and years. Okay, it fell down, it fell down. So if we think that we are just chemicals, we are not the soul, then what's the lamentation about the body, you know? On the other hand, in modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhasika philosophy, the so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So, in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul, or he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he had no reason to lament. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, okay, if there is a soul in the body and the soul leaves the body, then you don't have to lament, because the person that you knew is not the body, but is the soul, and the soul continues to live on eternally. And then if you think that there is no soul, that this is just chemicals, that this is just a body, then anyway, there is no worth to it anyways. Everything is then just zero. Then why are you lamenting for it anyways then? So according to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such incidents. If there were no rebirth for the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected by sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, mighty armed, because he, at least, did not accept the theory of the Vaibhashikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. So this Vaibhashika theory is not coming from the Vedas. It is just mental speculation by certain people. It is not based in any truth or any reality. It is not authorized. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture, and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't follow this this wrong philosophies that there is no soul and that we are just a bunch of chemicals. Don't believe that. You are a Kshatriya, you're an Aryan, so you should believe in the Vedas. And Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, but it's just that Krishna is trying to remove our doubts in our minds and making us fixed to follow the authority of the Vedas. Are there any questions or comments? If no, then we can continue to the next verse. Text 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharye arthe na tvam shochitam arhasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. So you see, this is a circle. It's a cycle of life. Because we are in the material world, we have to keep on taking different bodies. And once our time in a particular body is finished, we give up this body and take up another body. And that is called samsara, the cycle of life. But Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, he's showing us a way of how to finish this cycle, that we should not be happy just to keep on taking birth, again doing some activities, again creating reactions, then leaving the body, and again taking another life. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is telling us that we are not the body, that we do not have to take so many births in this material world, that we do not even belong to this material world, that we are spirit souls, and we belong to the spiritual world. And we should go back to the spiritual world. And he tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, how can we do that? And he tells us we can do that by engaging in devotional service. He says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Offer your obeisances to me. Worship me. And the easiest way of remembering Krishna is by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are being with Krishna, because Krishna and the holy name are non-different. So by this simple way, we do not need to repeatedly take birth and die again and again in this material world. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are doing your duty. So don't be lamenting that you're going to kill your grandfather and your teacher. You are a Kshatriya. So you do your duty of a Kshatriya, of fighting. You have to fight the aggressors. The Kurus had become aggressors. And Krishna wanted that the world should be ruled by devotees, so that the general population can also become devotees. So he did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, you're not going to fight. You think that your grandfather and teacher will live forever? No, they're surely going to die one day or the other. You don't fight with them now for the correct thing. You're not doing your duty. So you will in fact be degraded because you didn't do your duty. And then they are anyway going to die, not today or tomorrow. So what good is going to come out of it? Rather, you do your duty, do the right thing. So that's it. This is how Krishna is instructing Arjuna. And then through Arjuna, he's instructing us also that we should not give up our duty. Wherever we are, in whatever position we are in life, we continue doing our duty, but just add Krishna to that. There was a Brahmana who wanted to leave his house and wanted to follow Lord Chaitanya. He told Lord Chaitanya, I want to give up my house and I just want to follow you. I want to become a devotee. Lord Chaitanya told him, you can serve me by staying in your house. You be in your position. You just start chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and you speak to others about Krishna. And in this way, you will please me and you will achieve the highest perfection. So same way for us also, we continue doing our duty in whatever position we are in life, but just add Krishna by hearing about his glories from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing and chanting his holy names. Are there any questions or comments? If no, then we can read the next one. Text 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhanani eva tatra ka paridevana. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and the other not believing in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if, for argument's sake, we accept this atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From this subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestation, just as from ether, air is generated. From air, fire is generated. From fire, water is generated. And from water, earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestations takes place. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that before the creation, everything was there in its unmanifested form. We are all lying in the body of Mahavishnu in unmanifested form. And then when he breathes out, when he's creating this material world, the whole creation again happens. And so everything is manifest. The whole material creation, we can see all the living entities, we are moving. And then when it's time, when this whole material cosmic manifestation is devastated, then again, everything is brought back into the body of Mahavishnu. And it just happens as a cycle. It's cyclical. It keeps happening. So the total material energy is still always there. And is never lost. And we, the living entities, are also always there. We never cease to exist, whether we are unmanifest or manifest. We never cease to exist. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, in this unmanifest and manifest stages of life, there is still no reason for you to grieve, because this is the way things happen. There's nothing is going to be lost. It's not that permanently something will be lost. So here Prabhupada is saying that how the creation happens from non-manifestation to manifestation. So it starts from the most subtle. Sky or ether is the most subtle. Then from the ether, air is generated, and we can feel air. It's got this quality of touch. And then from air, fire is generated. So fire is gotten form also. We can see the fire. Then from fire, water is generated. Then in water has taste also. So it has the qualities of ether as sound, and then air, which has touch, fire, which has form, and water, which has taste. And then from water, earth becomes manifest. Earth has fragrance. You see, when we smell a flower, that fragrance is the fragrance of the earth. So from the earth, many varieties of manifestation takes place. Take, for example, a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. So right now we might collect all this bricks and cement and iron and steel, and we'll construct a building. But it's not that before the building was created, these elements did not exist. They existed. They were there in their raw form. It's only now with the combination of these certain elements, we have built the building. And after the building is demolished, it's not that they will cease to exist. The elements will continue to exist. The earth, the cement, the glass, the iron will continue to exist. It's only existing in their separate, in their, in their not combined forms, but as they are in their elements. So somehow or the other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested, and only in the middle are they manifested. And this does not make any real material difference. So the creation happens for some time. Before and after the creation, it's unmanifested. So we just have to get out of this material world. This cycle of this material world keeps on happening. And the purpose of this, the whole purpose of this creation is for us to realize that this is not our true home, that we do not belong here, that we are not material, we are spirit souls, and we need to get out of here. That is the purpose of creation. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time, antavanta ime deha, but that the soul is eternal, nitya shokta sharirinaha, then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of a dress? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king. But when we wake up, we can see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of the non-existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul, or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body. You see, this material body, no matter how much we try to preserve it, we can't preserve it beyond a certain expiry date. It is going to start deteriorating. And after we leave the body, then it starts decomposing. We can see that already the deterioration starts. After we reach a certain age, the hair starts growing white, the eyes can't see so well, the teeth can't chew that well. So the deterioration starts. The material body cannot be preserved for eternity. But we are not the body. We are not the body. We are not, the body is like a dress for us. As we are wearing these clothes, that's our gross body. And then inside we wear our internal clothes. That is like our subtle body of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, but we are not this body. We are not this clothes that we wear, or even the underclothes. We are the spirit soul. Right now, this material, what we are thinking that we are the body is actually a dream for us. Because that's not our true reality. Our eternal reality is that we have an eternal spiritual body, an eternal spiritual form, an eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. We have eternal spiritual activities that we do. And we are very blissful in doing those activities. Our dream is that we are thinking we are this body. We are not the body, we are in the body. So by reading Bhagavad Gita and by chanting the holy name, gradually, we will be situated in the position of the soul. Then we can give up this gross, this deep material attachment that we have to this material world and go back to the spiritual world, our true home. Is that okay? Are there any questions or comments? If not, then we can stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.